Hello and welcome to the Let's Create Art Paint Along. Today we're going to be painting a fancy little unicorn. Unicorns are fan favorites in the studio. If you purchase the kit, you have all the supplies that you need. You just will want to have a cup of water, a paper towel to dry your brush off on, and you may want to protect the surface that you're painting on with a garbage sack or a tablecloth, just something that you don't mind getting paint on and you can roll up, toss away, reuse. If you do happen to get paint on the surface where you're painting and you didn't want it there, just wipe it up as quickly as you can. Alright, to begin with, we are going to do the background of our unicorn. I'm going to do mine a light blue color, but you have the freedom to choose your colors as we paint this. So if I do a color in one area and you want it to be a different color, by all means, use the color that you want to use. Just keep in mind, make a plan so that you don't have all the colors sitting on top of each other. So my plan is I'm gonna do light blue background, and then I'm gonna do light pink and purple in the hair, and then I'm going to make the bow a brighter pink, and the horn, the unicorn horn, I'm going to make a darker purple. So that's my plan. You can make your plan or you can follow along with mine. All right, to begin with, I am going to use the darker blue, and then I'm going to blend in some white as I go. If you want to do one solid color, then just use your solid color and smooth brush strokes. I'm gonna make mine textured, but of course you have the freedom to choose. So I'm just laying some paint on, and then I'm gonna pick some of the white up, and I'm just gonna kind of blend in with it. And I'm being mindful of my drawing, so I'm going right outside of where the drawing for the unicorn is. So this is kind of a hash brush stroke. It's not really a smooth, solid, even coat. If I were wanting a smooth, solid, even coat, I would do it up and down or side to side really carefully and smoothly. And then when I'm grabbing my paint, I am grabbing from the side of the pile rather than the middle of the pile, just so I don't contaminate my entire pile of paint. So if I happen to have any blue on my brush, I'm not going to be getting that into all of my white. I'm going to still end up having some white that stays white. So I'm just going kind of in a X, like back and forth motion. And if I want to make it lighter, I just add more white. And if I want to make it darker, I add more of the color. So the key is to making sure that the paint is wet to get a blend. And then you also want to be mindful of the edges of your canvas. So whatever you have on the front of your canvas, you want to pull off and paint the very edge all the way around the canvas. So my edges are going to be blue. And if at any time you have really big, thick ridges of paint, just smooth it out without getting any more paint on your brush. So you'll just go right over wherever the thick part is and smooth it out to the rest of the canvas that still needs some paint, or off to the side. So I'm going as close as I can to my unicorn without getting inside of the unicorn. My unicorn's gonna be white, so we can use the white to cover up the blue, but I really want to keep it as white as I can. So the less I have to cover, the better off I'm gonna be. So as you're painting, if you see any white bubbled areas come up, that's just where the paint is drying into your canvas. So just go back over it with some more paint. One trick that we always recommend is to stop and blow dry it or let it air dry for a while. And you'll notice, you'll see as it dries, it starts really soaking in to the canvas. And then you can go back and add a second coat. The trick to adding the second coat and getting good coverage is to letting it dry. So if you go back to add a second coat on top of the wet paint, it'll just kind of want to pick up whatever paint you already have down there. But if it's dry, it will go on top of and layer on top of. So if you're having a problem getting the paint to stick to the canvas while you're doing your coats, just stop and take a blow dry, let it air dry, take a break, and then come back and put another layer of paint on top. You're gonna wanna make sure that you get your background completely done the way you like it before we move on. The background is behind our unicorn, and we typically want to paint what is behind first. And then while you're doing that, go ahead and check your sides and make sure that they're all painted so that you have a complete picture that wraps all the way around the canvas. We want this unicorn to be beautiful and fancy, and we don't want someone asking us down the road if we're still working on our picture just because our sides look a little unfinished. So make sure you cover all the edges of the canvas with the same color and the same method that you did on the front side. And then go blow dry, do a second coat if you need to do a second coat, and then we are going to move on to our unicorn. So push the pause button and then go blow dry. Okay, so now that we are dry and your background is the way that you like it, we are going to start with our unicorn. So my unicorn's going to be white, and so I'm just gonna cover the canvas with the white paint where the unicorn body is. A lot of times people ask, well, it's already white, why do I need to paint it? Well, we need to paint it because this is just fabric. There's no coating or coverage on it, and so it doesn't repel any kind of dirt or grime at all. In fact, it actually, if any dirt or pencil marking would get on here, it can smear and it stays and it soaks in and you can't get it off. But if we put a layer of paint here, it protects the white canvas and then it's easier to clean. So we always want to make sure that we go ahead and paint whatever is white that we want to leave white. So we'll just pick up some of the white paint, and then it'll be kind of hard to see the areas that we're painting because we're putting white on white. But you can tell like what area is wet. That is the area that has the paint on it. So if it's not shiny and wet, then it doesn't have any paint. So just add a little bit of paint on there. And then paint as smooth as you can and make sure that you're not getting any kind of texture ridges in there. So we're going to go around the eye. And then it'll look really smooth if all of it's coated. If you have any areas that don't look smooth or don't look the same, it's probably just missing some paint. So just put some paint all the way, all over the entire unicorn body. And we want to make sure that we're getting the clean white paint, or we're going to end up getting a tinted unicorn. So I'm going to go around my bow here. That way I keep my lines. And then there's a little bitty section right under the bow. Right here. This is also unicorn body. We want to make sure that we get that coated. And then we're going to go around that little hair part that curls. And then over here to this other hair, the hair bow. And then we're gonna take this white for the unicorn body and put right along the edge. If you still have that, if you didn't put the blue across there, you're gonna wanna put the white there, because the white is what's on the front. And we want to make sure all of the edge is coated with paint. And then just kind of look over it and see if there's any areas that look flat and not shiny, or any areas that you feel like you missed. And you might pick it up and kind of shift it around a little bit, and you can kind of see areas that way also. And then you can go blow dry this part so that you don't mix it with the hair, or you can be really careful as we paint the hair. So if you need to blow dry, just push the pause button and go blow dry. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to our hair. When you are doing your hair, you wanna strategically plan this out. So make sure that you're picking the colors that you want and then laying it in a pattern. Otherwise, if I put pink here and then I have pink here, I'll just have one big blob of pink. So I'm gonna alternate. I'm gonna have some pink and purple and pink and purple, and then there's a little thing of pink here. And since I have pink here, I'm gonna have purple, pink, purple, and then this is gonna be a darker shade of purple. And this is gonna be a darker shade of pink. So that's my plan. You can take a second and think about your plan. And remember, you can make other colors. So if you mix the pink and the blue together, you're gonna get a dark purple. If you mix the pink, the blue with a little bit of white, you're gonna get a lighter purple. If you mix some white with your pink, you're gonna get a light pink. So be mindful that you're not limited to just the colors right here. If you want to take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that and mix it together, you'll get a different shade of pink. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my pink, and then I'm gonna take some of my white, and then I'm gonna stir those together, and I'm gonna make a lighter pink. So when you're trying to make a lighter color, add a little bit at a time. So if I add too much white, it's gonna be really hard to get it back darker. So it's easier to just add a little bit of white at a time until I get it however light I'm looking for. All right, so I'm gonna go with that. Make sure you get it all stirred up. Okay. Now I'm gonna take my brush and I'm going to start painting my hair. So I'm gonna start with one color at a time. I'm gonna do pink. So I'm gonna line around the hair. And then I'll fill in the middle. And then if you want to take this a step further, you could take a tiny bit of white and blend through. It's not necessary. It's just if you want to add a little bit of highlight to your hair, you have that option. If not, don't worry about it. All right, so I'm gonna skip this one because it's gonna be purple, and I'm gonna go down here to this pink one. So I'm gonna line around. And then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fill the inside in. So it's important to paint in the direction that the hair is. So I wouldn't want to paint sideways. I want to make sure I'm flowing in the same direction of the hair, which is kind of like a curvy feature. Then I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and streak through. And if you get too much and you need to blend it in a little bit, just kind of brush over it. But the more you brush, the more it's going to turn to one solid color. So it's best to just kind of lay it on and leave it. And then we'll have purple here, and then there's a little bitty pink one back here. And then I'm going to pull a little bit of white. So this one I left a little more vivid than this one. You can choose which way you want to do it. And I'm hardly pushing any pressure on my brush at all. All right, so then I'm going to work my way back this way. So this was going to be purple, and then I was going to do pink and then purple here. So I'm going to go right over here. I'm adding my white highlights in. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to my purple. And since I started here, this should be the driest. So I'm going to follow the same pattern that I took with my pink. So if you want to stop and blow dry so you don't get your hand in any wet paint, that is perfectly fine also. All right, so I am going to go right along the area that I painted. And we want to get as close as we can. We don't really want any white spot in between our hair colors. And then I'm going to come and fill it in. So here on my purple, I could add some of my blue in if I wanted. Instead of the white, I could add the white like I did on the pink, or I could add some pink streaks in. Or I could just leave it be. I think I'm going to add some pink streaks in to the purple. So I laid it on there, and now I'm just going to kind of go through and smooth it out a little bit. All right, I'm going to go down to my next purple section. And to get the shade of purple, I mixed the pink, the white, and the blue. So the more white that I mixed in, the lighter my purple got. All right. So this strand of hair follows around underneath. So I'm gonna skip my little bow area, and then I'm gonna come right down here and fill this little area in. And then the rest of it is back behind our bow. So we don't really have to worry about the rest of it. All right, so now I need to put my pink streaks in. So I'm gonna grab some pink and I'm gonna streak through. And we're gonna just pretend like it keeps going. And then I'm going to blend that out just a little bit. If you like them really vivid, then you don't have to blend them. Alrighty. And then we're going to move up here. And as you're painting, if you feel like you need to rotate your canvas to get to a certain area, then move your canvas around. It doesn't have to stay in one certain spot or one certain way. And then right back here is going to be some purple too. Okay, so these two that I just did, I need to go back and put our dark pink in so that it all looks like it's the same head of hair. And I'm going to smooth those out. And then if you wanted to add white, you could. It's not necessary though. Okay, so for our ears here, we are going to do the white first. So clean your brush out really well. And then we're gonna line around the edge, and be mindful if your hair color is still wet. We don't want to pull that into our unicorn ear. So if you need to dry it or just be really careful as you go around, just keep that in mind. So we're just gonna do that outside edge, outside of the triangle. And then on the inside of the ear, I'm gonna do mine pink, like a light pink, but you could choose what you wanted to do yours. So I'm gonna make it really light. So I'm gonna add a lot of white to the pink. And then I'm gonna do the inside of that triangle. But you could do it a brighter pink or a purple. Or you could just have a solid white ear. I'm going to do the same thing back here on this ear. So mine's really light. It's almost like you can't even see it, but it's there. All right. So for my unicorn horn, I'm gonna make mine a dark purple. So I'm gonna mix some of the pink, and then I'm gonna take some of the blue, and I'm gonna mix it together. So the more blue that I put, the darker my purple is gonna get. The more pink that I put, the more of like a magenta-y purple I'm gonna get. And you want to do this little bits at a time. The blue can overpower and overtake quickly. So I would just do a little bit at a time. All right, I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to take the color. I'm going to fill in the horn. Make sure we don't have any white spots where the horn meets the hair. Okay, so now I have my horn filled in. I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of what I did on the hair, and I'm gonna take some of my light pink, and I'm just gonna make swirly circle. Not really circles, just like swirly lines. Like kind of diagonals. And then, so I did that with the pink, and now I'm gonna go in with white in between those and do the same thing. but my purple is still wet, so I need to be careful as I brush. As I put the paint on, it's gonna start changing into a different color. So I need to wipe my paintbrush off every time before I get some more white. That way it looks white when I come back to the canvas and not just a different color. So leave this for now, and then you can come back and add second layers of the colors if you need to, if you want to. All right, so down here on our bow, you can choose whatever color you want to put on your bow. I'm gonna go with a bright pink. I'm gonna make this unicorn really pink and purple. So I'm gonna do a blue center and then a bright pink bow. So I'm gonna start with my pink, and I'm gonna fill in the outside of the bow. And you can make the top of the bow one color and the bottom of the bow another color. It's completely up to you how you want to design your hair bow. All right. So you can add all kinds of highlights and shadows to the bow if you want, or you can keep it a little more basic. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of white and put the little lines coming out from our center there. If you wanted to make like a darker shade of pink and then outline the edges, you could do that. You could also take a darker shade of pink right in the middle of those. It just depends on how advanced you want to go. And then down here, underneath here, I'm going to do the dark purple that I had on the unicorn horn, or you could do like a light pink. So this is your fancy unicorn. This is your fantasy. So you create your unicorn however colorful, beautiful you see fit. right. And then I'm gonna take the light pink down here. And then for the middle, let's go with, let's do the light blue. And then I'm gonna take my dark blue and I'm gonna do just kind of some swirls. All right, so I'm gonna wash my brush out. And then I'm gonna go to my eye. And I'm gonna use the black and fill in the entire upper eye. So here we wanna be really careful because the black is a really dominant color, and so it can overtake our painting really fast. So we want to make sure we go really slow and careful here. So I'm filling in the top part of the eye and then all of the, what is going to be the eyeball. Okay, and if you wanted to add some eyelashes, you could. And then for the mouth, you can do that with Sharpie marker. We're gonna outline things with the marker, or you can do it with your paint. It's up to you. You can make it like black, or you can mix white with black and make it gray. So if you wanted to do it gray, you would just mix a little bit, a tiny bit of black with your white, and then you'll get gray. And you can also use that to go along the line right here to give it a shadow if you want to do that, or you can use a Sharpie marker and outline. So this is the gray lining. And then I'll show you what the Sharpie looks like in just a second. So to finish the eye, it needs a white eye shine. So you can take the back of one of your paint brushes and put it in the clean white. And then you're going to just dot it right on the eye, just like that. Okay, at this point, you can do any second coats of anything that you need to do. You can fix any areas that you need to fix and make sure that you blow dry it really well. And then we're gonna finish off our unicorn with some edging and lines. So just do whatever you need to do now and then blow dry it. And then come back and we will finish the very last touches together. Okay, so for the final touches, you do not have to do this. This is optional. It just helps give some clean lines and some illusion of a shadow to our painting. So I'll start mine. You can kind of see if you like it or not, and then you can do it or you can call it done. It is completely up to you. You can do it two ways. You can use a Sharpie marker, or you can use the paintbrush with black paint. The Sharpie marker just gives you a little bit more control than a paintbrush with paint, but either way is completely fine. If you are using the paintbrush with the paint, just be very careful about the pressure that you're putting on as you're lining, because the harder you push, the wider the brush stroke's gonna be, and we really wanna keep it kind of fine and thin so we don't cover up all of our pretty unicorn painting that we did. So the same thing goes for the Sharpie marker. So you want to make sure that it is completely dry before you use the paint or the Sharpie marker. If you come to a bubbled spot of paint and it's not dry, or any area of your canvas that's not dry, it will mix with either your paint color or cover the tip of your Sharpie marker, and then the Sharpie marker will not work anymore. So ensure that it's really good and dry before you start this part. Okay, for this part, I'm just gonna put lines all around, and this is gonna just give it like a really clean edge. And I'm gonna go in between my paint colors, and it'll kind of look like shadows. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on my bow here. And then you can make your bow a little bit more dramatic with the marker. And I'm going to put some little dashes in between my white lines. And then the bottom one. And then this little hair curving. And right here is the back side of our unicorn. And then you can line here if you want, or if you did the gray, you don't have to. And then we forgot a little nose. Unicorn has to have a nose. And then I'm gonna go right here on the ear, and then this hair. And we can't forget our little ear back here. And if you want to do a line inside of the ear, you can do that, or you can leave it painted. And then I'm gonna line my horn. Can't forget our last little hair out here. Okay, so there you have it. A beautiful, fancy little unicorn We are sure that yours looks amazing and we want to see what you did. So make sure that you send us a picture of your unicorn and we want to see what colors you chose. Thank you so much for joining us and we cannot wait to paint with you again soon.